This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends talking nerdy.
This is the podcast making, public transit taking, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun, Tim the Nerd coming at you with another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy, part of the Deluxe Edition Network. Head to deluxeeditionnetwork.com to find out about all of the lovely shows on the Den. Seated next to me, a blue bombshell this week, we have the most electrifying professor in all of podcasting today. We have Professor Aubrey. How you doing today?
I'm good. Apparently I'm very blue.
With the hair and all that, the
Yeah.
blue-ish color, you know. I mean, it's not blue, blue, but you know what I mean.
It's kind of gray, I think. Or silver, maybe I'd say.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe we generally keep the lights down pretty dark here, so admittedly, too, like, I thought you went back to the bluish greenish thing that you did before.
No, I haven't quite gotten there yet. That's where I'm headed, though.
Okay, so
It's a multi-step process.
there you go. Well, it looks great regardless. Let's
Thank
put
you. Thank you.
How's your week been?
My week has been great and has been absolutely great. I did go camping for the first time this year,
Whoop, whoop.
and it was success.
Did you get rained in or anything like that?
I can't remember if it rained at all. I don't think it did. I think it threatened to rain, but it never did. And then it was also very hot, and the sun was out, and I got a little bit of sunburn, and it was very windy. It was up on the high desert, and had a great time. I was at this conference called Safety Northwest, where people who work in safety regarding festivals can get together and train on things like fire protection, dealing with mental health and drug-related crises. My area is the gate area, which just means I'm...
Don't get near the gate.
No, I want them to go through the gate, but I have to check and make sure they don't have contraband in their car, and I have to make sure they have a ticket. So it's not super safety related, but I don't know how we got in there, but I was happy to get to go and learned a bunch and had a good time.
Yeah, the ticket deal reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. They did a scene on not necessarily the Hindenburg or something like that, one of the Zeppelins in Germany. It was a popular form of air travel up until the Hindenburg disaster, but Indy was in disguise as somebody that worked there, and then punched out a Nazi and then threw him out of the Hindenburg thing as it was going up in the air. And then he turned to the rest of the people that were sitting there and he goes, "No ticket," and then everybody takes their tickets out. So I can just imagine you just throwing people away, "No ticket."
Yeah, that's how it works. I've never had a person with no ticket.
I can imagine, yeah, because I assume the line to get into something like that, we're not talking like a 3-hour line or whatever, but it's also
No, we are talking about a 3-hour line.
Well, okay, then we're talking about a 3-hour line. Why would somebody wait for 3 hours to find out, whoops, I don't got a ticket. How do I back out of here? I can't do it. Whoops, you know?
Right, yeah. I mean, I think it's more common at the Burning Man event proper, where people somehow make their way out there and they're just so far out or so on drugs that they just show up, with random shit in their car and no ticket.
Oh, boy. I was hoping someone was going to pay for me, man.
I thought I could buy one in the parking lot.
The ghost of Jerry Garcia said to come out here so I could commune with people, man.
All right, let's stop making fun of the old hippies.
Well, a lot of those old hippies turned into quite the conservative boomers, so a lot of them can go straight to hell, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, again, no absolutes. There are some good people out there of the boomer generation, but you got to. It's like guys. Like we can't go off and be butthurt every time somebody talks about how bad men are. Like, did you hear about the little TikTok thing going on about how women say that they would be more comfortable being in the woods with a bear than with a man?
Whoa.
Yeah, but it's like guys have to accept the fact that there have been a number of guys who have given legitimate reasons to consider that option. I mean, it was a hypothetical, of course, but it's like you can't really argue when somebody's bad. So I would assume the good boomers understand, and just do their best to try to make the change. Like, I think our president falls into that category.
Yeah.
What was your favorite memory from the camping excursion?
My favorite memory, well, we like to burn things down. And so my favorite memory was seeing the design of the thing that got burned was really cool. It had a boat and in a sun, and when you let the sun go down, a kraken popped up. And then so it was on fire, and it was just the black outline of the kraken as the fire was just huge, and it was way cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you started off saying, you like to burn stuff, I forgot the Burning Man connection there for a second. So I'm like, what? Did she burn down a school somewhere? Well, I, for one, am glad you had a good time. I know getting out into nature is kind of one of those things that draws you, compels you as a person. Like you need to have that recharge throughout the year. So definitely happy to see you get that chance to go out and commune with Mother Nature.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's important to me.
Well, speaking of important to both of us, we got two special ladies we got to talk about this week.
Do we?
Yes.
Is there a special day, perhaps, coming up?
As well as we record this, it's going to be, 2 weeks today. Today's the 1st, if you think. But yeah, 2 weeks from today is the 14th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A year ago, we got our cats. Annie and Mimsy have been quite the experience. Like, it's the thing, the older you get and the more you have cats over the years, the more you realize that they're unique differences. Like the experience you have with one cat 20 years down the road, when you have another cat, it's going to be a completely different experience altogether.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting seeing kind of their personalities kind of explode.
Yeah, they really have over the last year. They've changed a lot.
Yeah, like I was concerned when concerned is probably too serious a word, but I thought that Mimsy was going to just be subdued and be the occasional come up, hello human, and allow me to do the occasional pet and everything, but she would be aloof. I thought that would be her, but I've never had another living creature love me this much.
Wow.
Yeah,
I remember when they first came, you were like, she really likes you. She really likes you. Annie, you were like, Annie really likes me, but Mimsy really likes you. And it's just so ridiculous. She never acts with me like she does with you. Like, she never sits on my lap. She doesn't follow me around. She's not all super happy when I'm here. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, and you've, and I've seen it with my own eyes too. Like Mimsy, when I come home from work, she will, once she sees me, she will come in and then just lie on the ground and then roll around, showing her belly and everything like that. Because, it's like, to me, I joke around and be like, oh, the human who knows I like food is here. Yay!
yeah, I give them food sometimes and she still doesn't
she does bring you her toys to play with. I mean,
That's true.
yeah, I
That's
mean, before we recorded, definitely just saw that there. So, I mean, that's the thing with cats and animals in general, too. Like going to the dogs, with the amount of dogs that I do see on a daily basis throughout the work week, I mean, you know, it reminds me a lot of high school because you have your introverts, you have your extroverts, you have your ones that are just scared and anxious, the anxiety ridden ones. You have your grumpy ones. Like there's this old lady dog who comes in, and she's a beagle, and all she wants to do when she comes in is to go to her special chair.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody's in her chair already, she will not move, but she will bark until that dog leaves. And then she will get into the chair. But that's, the
How
beauty.
long does it take the dog to leave?
It could take a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to force another dog to leave just because that dog is there, even though it would help my ears at some point. But the thing is, yeah, the personalities. Like Annie is still the extroverted, outgoing type. Like she's going to be the one that, if she were a human, she would be able to have a conversation with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Mimsy, kind of like the introvert, like from day one, from when I saw her, she is the type that, maybe if she doesn't know you, she's going to be aloof, but once she knows you, she's going to be so in love with you that you'll just be like, calm down, girl, calm down.
Yeah, well, that's what happens.
Do you have any favorite memories of our feline friends since we are celebrating this anniversary here?
Well, I remember like the first time Annie laid on me in the night. I love that. I love it when kitties lay on top of me.
Yeah, and that is a sign of protection as well. I mean, them being in there and sleeping at our feet or on us like that. I mean, because cats sleep a long time, but they also are, have the ability to be at total alertness at the snap of a finger. That's just how they're built, as you know.
Hmm.
But when we sleep so deeply that it concerns them. That's why they sleep with us, because if something were to happen, they want to protect us.
So they think we're not asleep. They think,
We're like knocked out, and they're like, oh no, our people, the people that give us food, they're they're unconscious, and we gotta protect them from the bears that could come or whatever. I mean, I do play them videos of the dogs on occasion too, so maybe they think with the smells that I come home with, maybe they think I'm like battling wild beasts, and then one day one of the beasts are gonna come and knock down the door. So yeah, Annie and Mimsy will protect us. Maybe no,
maybe.
yeah, no, they're not. They're going to run under the bed, but still, that's their instinct.
Sweet things. They're very sweet things.
Yeah, and I still remember that initial ride. From picking them up from my son's house. I mean, their personalities came through in that first instance. Because it's like I said when we first got them and first talked about them on the show. Annie was in the box, it was Annie and Mimsy in the box. The box was on my lap, and my son was driving me back here. And Annie and Mimsy were both looking out the window at all the lights going by on the highway. It was dark outside, and Annie was just looking around like, oh my God, what's that? Yeah, what's that? That's a light. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And Mimsy was like, oh my God, what is that? What is that? We're going to die. No. But those are our girls. And I don't know, just for me, having them around has been just such a benefit in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for me too. I mean, I resisted for a long time, and I would have kept resisting.
But I just have these wonderful puppy dog eyes, right?
Sweet, sweet puppy dog eyes. But you know what? They're more like kitty eyes. Sad kitty eyes. Like Puss in Boots. Did you ever see the Puss in Boots movie?
No, but I am thinking of like a sad version of like the end of the Thriller video where I just turn around, but I have the cat's eyes, but I'm frowning.
Yeah. Yeah. So sweet kitties.
Yes, and What a wonderful gift for my son, too. I mean, it definitely means a lot that, he turned to me as a resource to see if I was able to help him out in his current in his situation at the time, because he was moving and was not able to take them. And the reality is, if he had brought them to a shelter, it would not have necessarily been guaranteed that they would go together. And being able to keep a mother with her daughter, I mean, how many house pets really get that opportunity in the city, at least? I think it's something special.
It is. My sister and brother-in-law have 2 brothers. It's actually a black cat and a tuxedo cat.
I think I've met them before.
Of course you have.
Yes. Yes. I was able to coax one. I got it comfortable enough to sniff my finger and allow for a quick pet before it was like, okay, done. I don't know you, bye.
Was that the black one or the tuxedo one?
It might have been the black one.
Yeah, the black one is typically more gregarious.
Yeah. But that's cats for you, too. If they don't know you, then, they're going to be hiding. Our cats will do that with anything with the stairs, except for when either one of us are coming up. And Mimsy, I know when you come up, she will generally kind of hang out by the door and just wait there. But similar to how it is once I arrive home as well. I think they recognize our sound coming up the steps. So.
Well, and there's nobody living across the hall, so we're the only people that come up the stairs.
Yes. Yeah. So there is that now, but they did that before when we did have people too. So that,
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, how about before we go to our main event, we let one of our friends at the Deluxe Edition Network let our friends at home know about their show.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
All right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this message.
Welcome to the Growing Up Bananas podcast. My name is Ethan. This is my co-host Sam. What are we doing here?
The podcast will explore the internal battle of not just Asian immigrants, but every immigrant. Whether it's staying true to thousands of years of culture that our parents passed on to us and their parents passed on to them, or assimilating to what we see around us. So why is it bananas?
Well, a banana was a slur used for an Asian person who'd lost touch with their heritage. Yellow on the outside, white on the inside. Growing up is hard enough as it is, and we find ourselves in a situation where we're not quite Asian enough for the Asians, and unfortunately aren't able to change the colour of our skin.
Unless you're MJ.
Well, that's true.
We've been thinking about it, and as travel becomes more accessible, the world will become more intertwined. With that, the number of people who go through the same ups and downs of living in a foreign country, like we did, will rise. We want to share these experiences with you.
Throughout the journey, we're inviting a series of guests to share their compelling stories with us. We hope to have the likes of Dami Yim, Jeremy Lin, Jackie Chan, and Ando, who will hopefully join us as guests along the way.
Follow us on socials to stay updated with Growing Up Bananas, and we look forward to sharing our stories with you.
Hey, Tim, before we get to our main event, would you like a cup of coffee?
Always. I live on that stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah. How do I get through the day otherwise? Caffeine, man.
Caffeine is the way.
Yeah.
I agree. You've got to have caffeine in order to make it through the day. That is for sure. So I have this new coffee I would love for you to try because I absolutely adore it. And I have really good tasting coffee.
You most definitely do, folks.
Yeah, so I have this new coffee from Coffee Brothers Coffee Bros. And they are a small roaster in New York City that's run by 2 brothers, which is why they call themselves Coffee Bro.
Imagine that.
I know, right? Yeah. And they have this really great website that sells coffee that they make there in New York City, or they roast there. Sorry, they don't make it there. Obviously, they grow it in places where coffee grows.
Yeah, I don't think the South Bronx is a good place for coffee.
No.
In terms of growing coffee.
No, I think you have to be much closer to the equator.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, here, give it a try. What do you think?
Nom. So good, folks. So good. This is something I recommend we all try.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's an award-winning coffee, and it's got really great blends, espresso roasts, and single origin coffees which are all small batch roasted, you guys, in New York City. And we're in Portland, as you know, the home of amazing coffee. But for my coffee at home, I'm going to go for Coffee Bros.
And a reason I would go to Coffee Bros myself is because I love a good discount.
Oh my God. Yes, you do, Mr. Frugal.
Yes, if you go to their website, which you can go to our show description, and it will have a link there that will take you directly to their site, coffeebros.com. If you purchase some coffee from their website, and when it prompts you to put in the promo code, you put in FTN10, you're going to save 10% off of your order.
Wow, that's awesome.
It definitely is.
I hope everybody takes advantage of this wonderful opportunity to get 10% off this fabulous coffee.
I hope so too. Again, people, coffeebros.com. You can find a link in our show description, and at checkout, in the promo code area, put in FTN10. Let's drink some coffee, baby.
Okay.
It is that time of year again. The time of year when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees are officially announced. If you remember a few episodes back, we did discuss the nominees for 2024 this year, and the professor and I both came with our 5 choices of who we wanted to get in. Now, as far as the list here, we will go into that momentarily, but we'll start off with what we got right. Of the choices that I made, I was 3 out of 5, and Professor Aubrey was 4 out of 5.
I was so close.
But, yeah, as far as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yearly contest, the professor wins.
Woohoo!
Yes. But what we wanted to do is talk about the inductees for the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and while not many of the choices are going to be like, oh my God, this person is totally deserving, or maybe they're not choices of bands like the Rolling Stones or Beatles that still have immense popularity. As we've talked about before, I still like talking about stuff like this, even with how questionable the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, because it allows discussion on music history.
Yeah. And like, who influenced you?
Exactly. So,
where were the big changes across time?
Yeah, and also kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking, talk about, like in this case, going through the inductees, like, why are they there, or why weren't they there before?
Right.
So how about we start?
Let's do it.
All right. The first one on the list here, Mary J. Blige. Now, you said on the show when we talked about this that you chose her. I mean, you chose her, but you said that you did not listen to her music.
Correct.
Have you changed that since the recording?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Yes,
I should.
Yeah.
There are many things I need to do. I have a to-do list with at least 150 things on it.
Not hyperbolic, folks. I've seen that list. But definitely good to see her in there. Like, lately, my attitude has been changing even more about what is considered rock, because, I mean, let's think about it here. Like, the big London, the British invasion, what we're talking about here was essentially a marriage between 50s rock and 60s Motown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty simplified version, of course, but, the Beatles, look at a lot of their early albums had covers of like Motown songs and whatnot. So like R&B music, soul music definitely should be honored by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in my opinion. And Mary J. Blige, even though compared to Beyonce or something, I meant an older person or whatever, even though she's relatively young career-wise. I believe
Queen Latifah?
Queen Latifah was a little before, so maybe the best example here, but here we go. Mary J. Blige, I do think deserves it, because just, for what she's done with R&B, in terms of spreading it to the masses and whatnot. I mean, someone like a Beyonce would be the first to say, Mary J. Blige walked where I could run.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, not much more really to say about her because I'm not exactly going to be looking out for her music myself. It's okay not to be a fan of something, and you have 150 things to do before you get to that point where she's 151.
Yeah, she's 151.
Right.
It's a good number.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one here. Kind of surprised he is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame already. He was not on the nominees list, so this is probably one of those ones that they're adding on like they did Judas Priest, to where they
Like it's a write-in candidate, or
they have they have choices that they add to the rock and roll, like they did with Judas Priest, that didn't get an official nomination, but they get like a side award, but they still get the full honors essentially. So it doesn't make sense. It's stupid, and the whole concept of the Hall of Fame is stupid if you really think about it. But because it allows us to be able to talk about the history. That's why we talk about it, But Jimmy Buffett.
that's the one that wasn't.
Yeah, he was not on the nominees list this year, but Jimmy Buffett, who recently passed away, is now a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So in Cleveland, Ohio this year, they're going to be singing the Margaritaville song.
So do you think they did that because he died?
It's certainly possible. I would like to think that there was more put into it than that, but I think the fact that he passed away, good timing, bad timing, depending on what you think about it, but his name is out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they recently had a tribute concert that like Paul McCartney and Sting and other people were involved in. Now, the few times I've heard you talk about Jimmy Buffett, I don't get the impression you're a big fan.
No, not a big fan.
Yeah.
No. Parrot heads. I don't like him or his fans.
They suck. For me, Margaritaville, I can do that on karaoke.
Yeah.
Just fine. Like Cheeseburger in Paradise, meh. I could do without that.
Yeah, the only song that I know is Margaritaville.
Yeah. Anyway, how about we go on to the next one?
I don't like people who have no personality except alcohol.
And parrots. Anyway.
Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah. All right. The next choice here is one that made my list of choices this year, and that is one, Cher.
So glad she won.
Very deserving, and I think she is another person that I would say, like, why wasn't she in before? I mean, like, I know...
Well, Sunny, but she was famouser than Sunny.
Yeah,
they're famous.
Yeah, Sunny is not in either. All Sunny did was go to Congress and screw up the copyright laws in his country in order to placate his masters at Disney.
Yeah, man.
What a dick.
Well, so I'm really happy that Cher got in.
Yes.
Do you believe in life after love? The dance anthem. Like, she was just like a dance pop queen.
But she also did rock. She also did folk. I mean, she's kind of like when we talked about the nominees list, I mentioned that, in a lot of ways, she's the female Rod Stewart. And what do I mean by that? Rod Stewart vocally throughout the years has kind of, mix and match and done different things in different genres while still being Rod Stewart, and I think Cher definitely falls into that category.
Is Rod Stewart in the Hall of Fame?
I believe he is. So, yes.
I kind of forgot that Rod Stewart existed.
Well, I mean, he lives primarily in Vegas now with with whatever number wife that he has that was born when he was in his 50s, maybe.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's always been like I listened to, for Tim's Tremendous Tapes, I listened to the Rod Stewart Unplugged album, and he even made a joke in there that the wife that he had at that particular time was like one when he was in his 40s or something.
Wow.
Something, or just some bizarre, like that's super young, and that's inappropriate young. But anyway, how about we go on?
Yes, let's go on to the next one.
Oh yes,
a band that I spent some time with, certainly.
On the road as a roadie. You were drum tech? No.
No. But I listened to this band for a short period of time when I was in college.
Just make sure not to ride on a boat when you're going underneath the bridge that they're going over on their tour bus, the Dave Matthews Band, and yeah, they're going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like,
Why? Tell me why. Is the Grateful Dead in there? They're gonna put fucking.
I think the Grateful Dead is in there,
Okay,
and I think
well,
the
better.
reason that the Dave Matthews Band would be in there is, I mean, you got to think about it. It's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not just on your output of music. It's other things that you do in regards to the music industry. And I think, touring definitely counts on that. And Dave Matthews Band are, in the vein of the Grateful Dead jam band, maybe a different kind of audience, but I do think there's probably some overlap between Dave Matthews and Grateful Dead in
Yeah,
terms
I
of
think so.
fans. So like the 90s version of the Dead, and it's the 90s version, of course, is a preppy white douchebag.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
All right.
The original bruh.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, the next one here, like I said when we talked about them as nominees, they have the bona fides in terms of stuff like records sold. They've sold over 100 million albums. They have recognizable songs that you don't have to like, but you still recognize. Foreigner has made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like,
That's really awesome. I have a Foreigner album.
really?
Yeah.
Any?
You should listen to it to celebrate.
No. Yeah. Hot-blooded.
Check it and see.
I'm not having, I just made a joke there, and I will stand by the joke. This is going to make the final episode, but I'm also appreciative that they are in because they do deserve it. I don't have to like their music to appreciate the fact that they do have a legacy that
They spawned all the hair bands, didn't they?
there were different influences as well. I think in regards to the hair bands were similar in terms of sound because Foreigner was not like Yes, was not like Genesis before Phil Collins,
Right?
Not like Pink Floyd or Styx, the progressive type of stuff. It was just your basic chords and rock and guys type of deal. Very expressive, I know.
I know, but that's what the hair bands did too.
Yeah, I'm not saying they weren't an influence at all. I'm just saying there's other stuff involved as well.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. The next one here. Again, this is another person that should have been in a long time ago. And let me double check on my notes here to see who I picked. I know I picked him. You did not pick him.
No way.
Mr. Peter Frampton is finally in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I would never pick him.
You just don't like him?
I don't like him. The only song I know of his is that Baby I Love Your Way song. And it's a terrible, heinous song.
What do you really think?
It's just one of those songs that you don't want to hear. Like most songs I can tolerate if I hear it like in somebody's car or in a store or something. But when I hear some Peter Frampton, it just makes me really angry. I don't know why.
She's like, I want to fight. Come here. Yeah, last time we were out, started a bar brawl,
Baby, I love this way. I'll show you way.
With my fist. Frampton, I'm more familiar with his work in other areas. Like, he helped Nancy Wilson, with the score to Almost Famous. Also did that bit on The Simpsons that I talked about when we discussed him as a nominee. He's also been involved in other bands as well. So, like, with him, yeah, it's okay not to like his stuff, but knowing the bands that he worked with and the impact that he had in other ways, like, I have no problem with this. Like, am I like, yeah, like I was with Judas Priest? By no means.
Yeah.
But like, I can see that he deserved that.
Gotcha.
All right. How about going to the next one? I
Yeah.
believe this is one that you chose.
I totally did. It's Kool and the Gang.
Kool and the Gang. And yeah, I mean, like I said too, like, I like the fact that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not so strict that they only allow certain types of music, because the early rock gods out there that we can think of, going all the way back to Elvis and everything, definitely listen to black music, R&B, soul, gospel, everything. And Cool and the Gang are definitely a newer act in terms, in relatively speaking. The 70s and 80s. We're not talking the 30s and 40s here, but very much deserving.
Oh, definitely. I think they were like the head of a pack of very similar groups. Like they spawned a bunch of look-alike groups, but they were sort of the original.
Yep. So glad they are in. The next one here, Alexis Corner. Are you familiar with Alexis Corner?
No.
All right. Alexis Corner is a British fellow who had a band called Blues Incorporated in the early 60s. Some of the people that used to be in that band, Charlie Watts, who ended up becoming the drummer for the Rolling Stones, Jack Bruce, who ended up becoming the bass player for Cream, Ginger Baker, who became the drummer, not Cream, not Queen, sorry, Ginger Baker, the drummer for Cream, and some of the other people that weren't necessarily full-time members of Blues Incorporated, but did gigs here and there with them. Mick Jagger,
Wow.
Keith Richards,
Nice.
Brian Jones, Rod Stewart, and Jimmy Page.
Nice.
So a name that I can understand casual music fans today may not know, but you know plenty of people that he gave the first real shot to. Without him, we really don't have the Stones, because Charlie Watts was, because Alexis Corner and Blues Incorporated was a much more established band than the Rolling Stones, but Charlie Watts, took a chance, and I think he bet correctly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. But definitely glad that he is in. The next inductee this year is a man by the name of John Mayall. Are you familiar with him?
John Mayall? No.
Yes, another blues artist from England. His big group, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. You may have heard of some of the people that have been in his band, like Eric Clapton,
Hey.
John McVie,
Hey.
Fleetwood Mac,
Uh-huh.
Peter Green. Peter Green and Mick Fleetwood formed this band called Fleetwood Mac, among others. Again, like, he's not a name that the casual music fan today is going to know. I get that. But, if like you're a fan of Eric Clapton, for instance, without John Mayall, Eric Clapton was talented enough, of course, that he probably would have been discovered elsewhere. But that's for a multiverse, in a different multiverse to be able to deal with. We have to deal with this one where Clapton's first big break was with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. So, like, why is this happening now? Similar to Alexis Corner, this is something, I mean, these are two people that should have been, inducted a long time ago, but at the very least, they're being inducted now.
Yeah.
All right.
What's the next one?
The next one here, we have the MC5.
Hey, I don't know anything about MC5.
Yes, I'm not going to proclaim to be their biggest fan either, but their most famous song, Kick Out the Jams.
Oh, I know that song.
Yeah, that's the one basically they're famous for. And Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine has come out and, when talking about this band, said, this is the band that essentially created punk.
Oh, wow.
In terms of the type of sound, it wasn't called punk when it first came out, but it definitely was, because they didn't call Sister Rosetta Tharpe's music rock or anything like that, but she was making rock albums.
Right.
So definitely influential. Again, not a band that I think the casual music fan today is probably aware of, but if you are into punk music, loud music, metal, or anything like that, listen to some MC5, but you got to crank it up too.
Crank it up to 11, man.
Exactly. The next choice here, I think we both voted for him, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes, we did. That was the one we had in common.
Yeah. Also, too, what I forgot to...
If he was at the thing.
What?
Oh, well, that hasn't happened yet.
It has not happened. They've announced who's been inducted, but yeah, he hasn't talked yet. But what I forgot to bring up when he was just on the nominations list is that he, similar to Peter Frampton, is also dealing with a medical issue, Parkinson's.
Mm.
So this, I, for one, am glad that he's getting this honor because, like I mentioned in the nominee episode, without his popularity in America for his solo career, as far as America goes, maybe we don't know or care as much about Black Sabbath as we do today because of Ozzy's career.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on Ozzy? I think we were pretty exhausted when we brought him up last time.
Yeah, I mean, Ozzy is totally badass, and I probably wouldn't like Ozzy, actually, had it not been for that reality show.
Which was actually unofficially inspired by the times that the Osborne family would show up on the Howard Stern show.
Oh.
Which was, Howard griped about that on his show for years.
What, that they stole his idea?
Yeah, I mean, he's still friends with Ozzy, and Ozzy has shown up, plenty of times well past the reality show going off the air. But that's the reason he put them on the air. They were entertaining. They put on,
Yeah,
they put on a show for people.
they really did.
And I'm definitely glad he's getting in. He deserves it. How about we go to the next choice?
Let's do it.
Suzanne DePass.
Don't know her.
Okay.
I'm gonna pass on her.
Not until you find out what she did. She was a former executive at Motown and helped with the outfits that this group from Gary, Indiana called the Jackson 5 first wore and helped develop their act. And she was behind Motown's effort into getting stuff on television, including the Motown 25th anniversary concert that saw Michael Jackson do the moonwalk on television for the first time.
Whoa.
So I'm glad that they do this as well, in terms of getting people into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that aren't known to the general public but are just as important. Because
Unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes, because what you see, like when you go see Taylor Swift on stage, is not just the work of her or everybody you see dancing on that particular stage. It's behind the scenes people as well, the crew that has to get the stage up and running. It's the people behind the scenes that reserve the stadium and have everything all set when she's there for for her concerts and whatnot. So people like this are vital, and if they are responsible for helping put great moments in pop culture history, they should be rewarded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about the costumes, obviously, or I would have loved her.
Yes. Yeah, she got your vote now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. This next one here, I'm glad she's in, but it's like, why the hell is she in 2024 and not the very first year that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame first started inducting people? Big Mama Thornton.
Mm,
Do you know who she is?
no.
Have you ever heard the song Hound Dog from Elvis?
Oh, yeah, I know who she is then.
Yes, she sang, and the song Hound Dog was written specifically for her to sing first. And this guy named Elvis Presley heard the song, loved it, and did his own cover, which was one of not the first, but one of the first big rock and roll songs that exploded and, caused the popularity that we've seen over the years with rock music. And maybe there's a cynical person out there stating, well, she had that one song. Look at how influential that one song was and still is to this day, not only for rock music now, but for all of the other artists that were inspired by either her rendition of it or Elvis's rendition of it, no matter the genre.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely.
Yeah, and sadly, she passed away in poverty in 1984.
Doesn't that suck?
It's bittersweet that this is happening, but she deserves it. She definitely deserves it.
Definitely.
All right, the next one here, you had them on your list. A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because they were not on mine does not mean I'm upset by any means that they've made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so I love Tribe Called Quest because they were sort of one of the first political rap groups.
Well, they were around, they started hitting a big around the same time as Public Enemy, and Public Enemy was as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were one of.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was their style. They were one of the first.
Yeah, then I misunderstood you. I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I thought you were saying they were the first.
No, definitely not. I mean, I think when you look, just like, that idea that that one band was like the source of punk, I don't think that's true, because as soon as somebody picks up something that somebody else did, they're doing it in a new way.
Of course. I mean, and I was, what you were referring to is me paraphrasing what Tom Morello said.
Right.
Yeah, there is no one inventor, because we're talking music here. It's not like the light bulb, and even then the light bulb, who invented that is a whole different story altogether, because it wasn't Edison. But you get my point, though. Like with an invention of a machine, there is one sole originator, essentially, for this type of discussion here. But with music, it's different, because it is, you are the summation of your influences.
Yep.
Yep. All right. The next one here, Dionne Warwick.
I'm, happy about this. She had 3 popular songs, but she was a woman in R&B at a time when women were getting screwed over everywhere. And so I think she could have been a better star. She could have been a bigger star. She could have had better songs to sing, but that she was always like fighting uphill.
The first time I became aware of her was That's What Friends Are For.
Sure.
So, I mean, there is that, but there is one funny story. Did you know in the 90s, she called Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Tupac, told them to come to her house, and she bitched them out about their lyrics against women?
Nice.
And like, as Snoop Dogg puts it, when Dionne Warwick tells you to come to her house, you go to her house and you be on time. So there is that. I'm not against her being in. Would I have voted for her? Not necessarily, because from what I am aware of her career, I just don't necessarily know if she had the type of impact that necessarily deserves it. Now, however, I'm not also proclaiming to be knowledgeable on every single accomplishment that she had in her career either. So I am willing to be educated on this. But like I said, I'm also just not against the idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you kind of don't care.
Exactly, yeah. All right. The last choice here, Norman Whitfield. Are you familiar with that
Definitely
name?
don't know him either. I
Well,
love how much I learn on the Friends Talking Nerdy show.
well, Norman Whitfield was a songwriter and responsible for quite a number of songs that I'm sure you know, like Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Hey,
Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Yeah, I heard it through the grapevine.
wow.
I Can't Get Next to You from The Temptations.
Yeah.
War. Good
Good
God. Yeah, he
What
wrote that
is
one.
good for?
Just My Imagination, Running Away with Me, Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Wow.
Like, like I mentioned with the Beatles, I mean, the British invasion as a whole, but the Beatles in particular, married that Motown sound with, what they heard from like the blues and country and all the rockabilly stuff from the 50s. And Norman Whitfield was one of the big people behind the scenes at Motown that was giving us these songs.
Nice.
So this is also another person inducted that you're like, why weren't they in before?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like they're as prolific as Willie Nelson is in country music.
Well,
as a songwriter,
As a songwriter, yeah. I mean, but also too, if you think about it, yeah, like he was a behind the scenes songwriter, so it's not like he was putting out his own albums. So he had to write in the voice of plenty of different people.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't writing for just one band, like Pete Townsend for The Who, for instance. So yeah, he had to make a song that fit well for Smokey Robinson, but a song that may fit well for Smokey Robinson may not necessarily be good for the Temptations.
Right.
It's all about delivery, folks. But interesting group of people nominated and on their way to be inducted this year into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like I said, it's not a huge crowd, apart from maybe, for my musical interest at least, apart from like Ozzy. There aren't bands that I would say that are super iconic, but being that this is the first group of inductees since Jan Wenner was booted from the board of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think this is a good start and a good sign that I think they may be looking to right some wrongs. that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has kind of been guilty of since its creation. And I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
Well, yeah, I like it anytime there can be a repair. You know, like people did bad things or weren't as concerned with other people or compassionate or all of those things as we would as we would like.
Yeah, and if you can make amends, you make amends. Like with the Big Mama Thornton, for instance, like again, without her, without Hound Dog, like where is rock music today? I'm sure it'd still be here, of course, in some way, shape, or form. But like, we got to look at the world we're in today without Hound Dog. Like, my God, why wasn't she there before? You know? So better late than never, I guess. And the fact that that this allows conversation, which I think is the bigger thing. I that's why I will always talk about, if I have a platform somewhere to talk, I'm always going to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because it does allow people to talk about history. And I don't think there's ever anything wrong with that because you learn from your history.
Sure.
Yep. Any other thoughts on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, I would go there someday if it wasn't in Cleveland.
Yeah, like I brought that up as a potential destination place, and you were like, fuck no. Yeah, you can go.
Seriously, never going to Cleveland again.
What was so bad in Cleveland?
It's just a nothing place.
Well, I mean, it is in Ohio. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Columbus, Ohio. I've been to lots of places in Ohio, and Columbus is supposed to be the best place in Ohio. And it was pretty sad.
I've been to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio.
Oh, uh-huh.
So there is that. And of course, the train ride from hell I took to Boston, we passed a little bit through Ohio as well. You know what the best part about going to Ohio is?
Getting out of Ohio.
Getting out of Ohio. That's right. Cleveland's off the list. So.
Yes, Cleveland's off the list. See what else you can come up with.
All right. Yeah. With that, for the most electrifying professor in podcasting today, each Monday we'll have something in this podcasting space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
So long, friends.
Rock and roll, baby. Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy
on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Goodbye, darling.